What happens when a nation decides to end one of its oldest diplomatic relationships? The world is asking that very question after Burkina Faso officially announced that it is cutting diplomatic ties with France, its former colonial ruler. The decision marks one of the most dramatic developments in West Africa in recent years and could reshape political alliances across the Sahel. But why did this happen? What led to this historic moment? And what could it mean for Africa, France, and the wider international community? Stay with us as we break down the full story. Burkina Faso's government announced that diplomatic relations with France have officially come to an end. According to the country's authorities, the decision followed a review of bilateral relations. Officials argued that the conditions for mutual respect, trust, non-interference, and national sovereignty no longer existed. They also accused France of pursuing what they described as neo-colonial ambitions and supporting subversive networks and terrorist groups. France has strongly rejected those accusations, calling the decision hostile and unfounded while considering reciprocal diplomatic measures. To understand why this announcement is so significant, we need to look back at history. Burkina Faso was once part of France's colonial empire in West Africa. Even after gaining independence in 1960, France remained one of the country's closest military, political, and economic partners. For decades, Paris played a major role in regional security and counter-terrorism operations across the Sahel. However, everything began to change over the past several years. Growing insecurity, repeated military coups, and increasing anti-French sentiment transformed the political landscape. Many people in Burkina Faso questioned whether foreign military partnerships had actually improved security as extremist violence continued to spread. Following the military takeover in 2022, the country's leadership adopted a much stronger emphasis on national sovereignty and reducing foreign influence. The relationship with France deteriorated rapidly. French troops were asked to leave the country, diplomats were expelled, and cooperation in several areas was gradually reduced. The latest decision to completely sever diplomatic relations represents the most significant step yet in that process. It signals that the military government wants to redefine Burkina Faso's foreign policy on its own terms. Supporters of the decision argue that it represents an important assertion of national independence. They believe every sovereign nation has the right to determine its own international partnerships without external pressure. For them, this move symbolizes a break from the colonial past and a new direction for Burkina Faso's future. Critics, however, raise important concerns. France has historically been a major source of development assistance, diplomatic cooperation, and security coordination. Ending diplomatic relations could complicate future cooperation, affect aid programs, and reduce opportunities for dialogue during times of crisis. Some analysts also worry that diplomatic isolation could create new challenges. While the country continues to face a serious security threat from extremist groups, the implications extend beyond Burkina Faso itself. Across the Sahel, countries including Mali and Niger have also experienced major political changes and have reduced military cooperation with France. These developments reflect a broader shift in regional geopolitics, with several governments seeking new international partners while emphasizing national sovereignty. Another important question is how this decision could affect France's influence in Africa. For decades, France maintained close political, economic, and military relationships with many of its former colonies. But in recent years, those relationships have faced increasing criticism from governments and citizens who argue that the old model no longer reflects today's realities. France has responded by saying it respects the sovereignty of African nations while rejecting allegations of interference. The international community is now watching closely. neighboring countries, regional organizations, and global powers will all be assessing how this diplomatic rupture could affect regional stability, security cooperation, trade, humanitarian assistance, and diplomatic engagement may all be influenced by the decisions taken in the coming weeks and months. Despite the sharp political disagreement, officials have indicated that this diplomatic break does not erase the historical and cultural ties between the people of Burkina Faso and France. Millions of personal, educational, and family connections continue to exist, even as government-to-government relations enter a new and uncertain phase. So what happens next? France is expected to review possible reciprocal measures while monitoring the safety of its citizens. Burkina Faso, meanwhile, is likely to continue strengthening relationships with alternative international partners as it pursues its current foreign policy strategy. Whether this leads to greater stability or new diplomatic challenges remains one of the biggest questions facing the region. One thing is certain: this decision represents another major turning point in Africa's evolving political landscape. It highlights changing alliances, debates over sovereignty, and the continuing impact of history on modern international relations. The consequences of this move may be felt not only in Burkina Faso and France, but across the entire African continent and beyond. What do you think about Burkina Faso's decision? Is this a bold step toward greater national sovereignty? Or could it create new diplomatic and security challenges? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest updates on global affairs. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.